like to call our meeting to order. It is 6:01 p.m. and declare that we do have a board quorum present. If you will please stand for our invocation, which will be led by Mr. Chris Dunn, and then our pledges of allegiance, which will be led by Mr. Atkins.
That's right. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you tonight, Lord, just thank you for blessing us and for taking care of us, the community, the district. Lord, just pray that tonight that we might just listen to your guidance. Father, thank you for our visitors that are here tonight. Pray that you return them home, safe travels. Father, I just pray also for all the construction that's going on around at the district, Lord, with the weather as hot as it is, Lord. I just pray that you just bless those folks and just help them to be able to do that without too much heat exhaustion and everything else. Just keep them safe. Father, again, we just thank you for being here tonight. Just pray that all is said and done be glorify your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
At this time, in accordance with BISD local, the board will provide an audience with individuals who have signed up prior to the meeting to address the board. Tonight, we do not have anyone who signed up to address the board. At this time, in accordance with BDB legal, we will ask Ms. Rebecca Kelly to administer the oath of office to our elected trustees, Mrs. Liz Cuellar and Mr. Chris Dunn.
Chris, you memorize it?
Yeah. He's going to get some more of that.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Liz Cuellar, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of office of the trustee of Brazos Court Independent School District of the state of Texas,
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of trustee of the Brazos Court Independent School District of the state of Texas,
and will do the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the state and of this state. So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. Cuellar and Mr. Dunn. Another 3 years of service. Next item on our agenda is executive session. It may be called for the purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Sections 551.001 through 551.146, Sections 551.071, Consultation with Attorneys, Sections 551.72, Real Property, Sections 551.074, Personnel Matters, Appointment, Employment, Evaluation, Reassignment, Duties, Discipline, Dismissal, and Complaint. We will return shortly.
I wondered if you were gonna be in there with him or not, 'cause I'm like, I can see what they're like. They'll call me if they need.
Or we can get them after.
Yeah.
I brought it up in another meeting that we're having this Vestibule. I mean, it really, to me, is a no-brainer. I don't see why we wouldn't have done it now reconvene from executive session, and it is 6:13. Our first action item is the election of the board officers for the 22-23 school year. In accordance with policy BDAA local, the board must elect a president, vice president, secretary, and assistant secretary for a term of 1 year. Let's start with the board president. Do I have a recommendation for the board president?
I would recommend Mr. Mason Howard. Second.
All right, it's been moved by Mr. Atkins and seconded by Mr. Schwartner. All those in favor, is there any discussion before we move on?
Is there any public comment?
Is there any public comment before we move on? All right, well then hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries.
Did Liz vote? Congratulations.
Liz, did you vote? Do I have a recommendation for board vice president?
I recommend,
Go ahead, you do it.
I recommend Scott Swanson.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Cuellar and seconded by Joe. All those in favor, is there any discussion? We used to not have to ask for discussion after every single item, so I'm still getting used to that. Is there any discussion or comment? All right, hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries as well. Board secretary, do I hear a recommendation for board secretary?
I recommend Mr. Jerry Atkins.
All right, and it's been moved by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dunn. Any discussion? Comment? All right, hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. That carries as well. And do I have a recommendation for assistant board secretary?
I recommend Joe Reinhardt.
All right.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Cuellar and seconded by Mr. Schwartner. All those in favor signify by, any discussion or comment? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay.
There's a lot of breath right there you won't ever get back.
Thanks. All right, next item that we have, thank you for all of y'all's continued service. Next item that we have is public hearing by Ms. Rebecca Kelly. We will now ask her to conduct a public hearing to discuss the federal grant applications for the 22-23 school year. This is a public hearing, so audience participation is invited at the conclusion of this presentation. Ms. Kelly.
Good evening. In alignment with board policy, CB local, and the federal statute, it is my pleasure to conduct a public hearing on 3 federal grant applications for the 22-23 school year. The 3 grants are as follows. The Every Student Succeeds Act, which is including Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which includes IDEA-B formula and IDEA-B preschool. And then the Perkins Federal Grant application, which includes and supports our CTE programs. Notice of the public hearing was published on the district's website on May 26th and in the local newspaper on June 16th to give an opportunity for public to participate and give feedback. The 22-23 school year, Brazos-Port ISD will have 15 Title I school-wide campuses. As a Title I school-wide campus, the Title I funds can be used to serve all students. The campus must conduct a comprehensive needs assessment, maintain a campus improvement plan, and facilitate parent and family engagement activities. For a campus to qualify as Title I school-wide, the campus must be identified as economically disadvantaged with a percentage of more than 40% of their students. Brazos Wood and Lake Jackson Intermediate are over 40%, but are served through state comp ed funds. Overall, the percentage of economically disadvantaged students district-wide has increased from 69.54% last year to 71.74%. The Title I Part A planning amount for 22-23 is $2,689,872. These funds provide supplemental resources to improve the quality of education programs and to ensure students from low-income families have opportunities to meet the challenging state assessments. Over 90% of these funds are allocated directly to our Title I school-wide campuses and are used to provide campus-level intervention supports to struggling students, including before, during, and after school tutorials. It covers salaries for intervention teachers and additional paraprofessional support positions, provides supplemental instructional materials and supplies, and then can be used for professional development. And then it also provides training to teachers, administrators, and parents on the importance of working together and on implementing campus parent and family engagement activities. We provide services and supplies to homeless students as needed, and then we have to provide resources to private nonprofits if they choose to participate, and then we provide administrative cost support to administer the program. Title II Part A funds are designated to increase student achievement through improving teacher and principal quality and increasing the number of highly qualified teachers in our classrooms and highly qualified principals in our schools. The planning amount for 22-23 is $423,638. Funds are used to provide district-wide literacy and math specialists and academic dean of instruction, mentor stipends, again, support nonprofits that choose to participate, and then help fund district-wide professional development. Title III Part A funds are utilized to develop programs for limited English proficient students to attain English proficiency, develop high levels of academic attainment, and meet the state content standards and student achievement standards. The planning amount for 22-23 school year for Title III Part A is $141,884. Title IV Part A is to improve students' academic achievement by providing all students with access to a well-rounded education, improving school conditions for student learning, and improving the use of technology in our classrooms. The 22-23 planning amount for Title IV Part A is $197,436. The Title IV Part A funding for 22-23 is being used to provide support for safe and healthy students by providing health and safety specialists to Brazosport High School, Brazos Wood High School, and Freeport Intermediate School. These funds also provide communities and schools case managers, Go Guardian, which is a program that supports student safety online and device management, and then professional development and resources to eligible participating nonprofits. And then Perkins, the federal Perkins funds are used to strengthen career and technical education and develop more fully the academic knowledge, technical, and employability skills of the secondary education students who enroll in CTE programs and programs of study. The planning amount for the Perkins grant for the 22-23 school year is $129,250. These funds are used to support quality CTE programs by providing students with strong experience in all aspects of an industry, by providing industry standard equipment and supplies, providing opportunities for students to earn industry certifications, developing, improving, and expanding the use of technology in our CTE classrooms, providing professional development for teachers, and to ensure programs are created to meet the academic and career readiness standards. Individuals with Disabilities, or IDEA-B formula, provides supplemental resources to help ensure eligible students ages 3 through 21 with disabilities are provided with free public education as required by federal statute. The goal of the Special Education Department is to provide collaborative support services in an environment that embraces all learners to successfully achieve their full potential. Projected planning amounts for 22-23 for the IDEA-B grant is $2,565,015. IDEA-B preschool provides supplemental resources to help ensure eligible students ages 3 through 5 with disabilities are provided with a free, appropriate public education as required by the federal statute. The 22-23 planning amount is $72,656 and will be used to pay for one teacher in our early childhood special education program. This is a public hearing, so I'll be happy to take any comments or questions from the board or from the audience.
Any questions from the board?
Does the increase or decrease from last year, is that around enrollment or?
It's an entitlement grant, so all districts that are eligible for it and apply for it use the same amount of money. So the state has a pot of money, depending on the number of people who apply, it gets allocated. So it's gonna vary every year based on the number of districts who apply, the total number of students, and then the amount that USDE allocates to the Texas Education Agency as part of the grant.
So our numbers really didn't change that much.
Pretty flat.
Any other questions or comments?
Our percent of economic disadvantage, is that based on?
Based on February data,
Okay.
which is what we use for the application that's due in July.
Right, okay.
Any comments from the audience? All right, hearing none then, thank you, Ms. Kelly. Close our public hearing. Next item that we have is our consent agenda. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, then do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented? So moved. Moved by Mr. Reinhardt, do I have a second?
No second.
Second by Ms. Cuellar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. That carries. Thank you. Next, under our action items, public comment will be allowed before a vote is taken on each action item. Our first action item tonight is the selection of a Texas Association of School Boards delegate and alternate. As a member of the Texas Association of School Boards, we're provided the opportunity to select a delegate to represent our district at the TASB Delegate Assembly in Dallas on September the 24th, 2022. The purpose of this delegation is to elect TASB leadership, amend TASB bylaws, and adopt TASB advocacy agendas. The Board of Trustees may take action to either select a delegate and alternate or to determine that our district will not participate in the assembly this year. What say you?
I move to nominate Mr. Atkins and myself as alternate.
I second.
All right, is there any discussion before we move forward? First of all, does Mr. Atkins agree? Concur? All right.
I've already worked 2 meetings.
It's in San Antonio this September.
Yeah.
We know the way.
Yep.
Is there any comments from the board before we move forward? Any comments from the audience? All right, hearing none then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. That carries. Thank you all for serving again. Mr. Atkins.
I'm sorry.
Hello, yeah.
Come on.
Sorry.
Cindy.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you.
So glad you can make it, Miss Cindy. Glad you're here.
It's just embarrassing.
Next item that we have on our agenda under action items is the optional flexible school day program allocation. Mr. Ron Redden.
Good evening. In alignment with Board Policy EHBC Legal and Board Goal, BISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that every student will be future ready. It's my pleasure to seek Board authorization to submit an application on behalf of the Brazos Success Academy to operate an optional flexible school day program. After the Commissioner's Office reviewed our local innovation plan in April, they notified the district that even though our original plan included an optional flexible school day program exception, we could no longer innovate in that area because it is a discretionary program. At the time of the notification, they advised us to move forward with the board vote on the plan in May as written, so that the district would not have to start the renewal process over again, and so that the approval of the local innovation plan would occur before the end of the 5-year anniversary of the original plan. They recommended that we remove the exception as an amendment, which we will do in October. Beginning with the 2022-2023 school year, our district is required to submit an application to receive approval from the TEA to implement an optional flexible school day program. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to inform the board about the program and the application process, and to receive the authorization to move forward with submitting the optional flexible school day program application on behalf of the Brazos Success Academy. Texas Education Code Chapter 29.0822 includes a provision to offer the at-risk students of a qualifying campus with attendance flexibility that reduces the impact of absenteeism and that provides for average daily attendance funding. That provision is the optional flexible school day program. Before a student can participate in the optional flexible school day program, there must be an agreement in writing to the student's participation. That agreement must be signed by the student if the student is over 18 years of age, or by the student and the student's parent or parent or person standing in parental relation to the student if the student is less than 18 years of age and not emancipated by marriage or court order. The Brazos Success Academy qualifies as a campus eligible to operate an optional flexible school day program under Texas Education Code, Chapter 29.081E1, because they provide not less than 4 hours of instructional time per day, employ as faculty and administrators persons with baccalaureate or advanced degrees, provide at least one instructor for each 28 students, and perform satisfactorily according to performance indicators and accountability standards adopted for alternative education programs by the Commissioner. Students enrolled in the optional flexible school day program must take the required state assessments specified under Texas Education Code Chapter 39.023 during the regularly scheduled assessment calendar. While attending the optional flexible school day program, a student may be counted in average daily attendance for purposes of funding only for the actual number of contact hours the student receives, up to 43,200 minutes per year. Before submitting an optional flexible school day application, the Board of Trustees of a school district must include the program as an item on a regular agenda for a board meeting and discuss the application to operate the program. Offering an optional flexible school day program will allow the Brazos Success Academy to provide flexible scheduling to students who work, students with children, students who are pregnant, students who only need to complete state testing to graduate and who are participating in testing tutorials, or students who have earned most of their credits to graduate, but who no longer need to attend school for a full or half day to complete those credits. Qualifying Brazos Success Academy students can be enrolled in the optional flexible school day program to attend school at scheduled times that meet the individual needs, and those times include after normal school hours or for specific times during the instructional day. The optional flexible school day program approval is for 1 year and can be renewed following a review by the Board of Trustees and the submission of another application. The program is subject to reporting requirements to TEA. The district may be required to submit progress reports based on criteria we set and agreed to by the Commissioner. Progress reports could disclose the overall progress of students in the program, the number of students enrolled in the program, the number of students graduating from high school, both of which would then be disaggregated by ethnicity, age, gender, and socioeconomic status, and any other additional criteria we set and the Commissioner agrees to. BSA estimates that 50 students will participate in the program at various times during the school year. The program will run from August 17, 2022 to June 29, 2023, Monday through Friday during the school year, and Monday through Thursday during the summer. BSA will offer 375 flexible minutes per day during the school year and 360 minutes per day during summer school. Students can attend face-to-face classes, credit recovery, or STAR EOC tutorial sessions after normal school hours or during the school day based on their individual needs. And the application must be submitted at least 30 days prior to the start date of the program. So it is our intent to complete and submit the application by the end of this month. The optional flexible school day program students will have access to the same support and materials that all BSA students have. All BSA teachers will be available to provide instruction and tutoring to optional flexible school day program students. And students will be exempt from the 90% rule and the 75% to 90% rule for attendance for credit, since absences and days present do not exist in the optional flexible school day program. However, students will be required to attend regularly scheduled instruction with penalties for non-attendance. In other words, they will be scheduled into when they're going to be there. They're expected to be there. If they're not, they face penalties for truancy. Minutes of instructional time will be recorded by teachers as required by the Student Attendance Accounting Handbook and following all guidelines set forth by the program rules. It is the district's recommendation that the Board of Trustees authorize the Brazos-Port Independent School District to submit an application to operate an optional flexible school day program at the Brazos Success Academy. I'll be happy to answer any clarifying questions you might have.
Ron, on what you just mentioned about students being required to attend regular scheduled instruction with penalties, those penalties set by the state or they set by the district?
By the district. They would be truancy. They'd be subject to filing, we both, because they could be subject to filing and other things just like anyone else. They're expected to be there. The difference is, Mr. Reinhardt, they're not on the set instructional calendar like the other students are, where they're having ADA period where they're marked. They're expected to be there second period, let's say, and third period for the day. They don't show. Then that counts as an absence, and then once you accrue the absences, it's just like you would with any other attendance accounting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Reinhardt concerning the application?
Mr. Redden?
I'm sorry, Mr. Redden. I know this isn't part of the application. Do we see a lot of that?
A lot of the optional flexible needs.
Well, kids not showing up and being penalized or
That was one of the
Placement
issues.
punishment.
This past year, we placed 26 students under that program during the final 6 weeks because they were in a quandary. They only needed, many of them, a single class for credit to graduate. They'd finished everything. And so what was happening is they weren't coming. So they were hitting us on the attendance side. But because we were able to offer them during the last 6 weeks of the year, that time, we accrued minutes for them, which once they hit 240 minutes, they get credited with a full day of having been at school.
Any other questions? Audience?
I have a question. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this program.
Yes.
You mentioned 50 students are expected to participate. How many students are in the academy? Like, what percentage of the academy is that?
Well, we'll start the year more than likely at about 120 students, Richard, don't you think? That's I think what the anticipation is. So when we say that there'll be part of it over the course of the year, the way that the Brazos Success Academy is a dropout recovery school as well as a school of choice. So as students proceed through recovering their credits, and some of them will be through the regular instructional classes, going 4 or 5 periods, 6 periods a day. But then, as they get toward the end, they may not require that amount of time. In which case, then, they may just need to be coming back for tutorials or whatever, and at a 6 weeks point, following an attendance period, we can then move them into the optional flexible school day program, which allows us then to provide what they need, but also not be penalized on the attendance side, and yet still get ADA credit for them.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
You're
Sorry.
welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Redden? All right, we have a recommendation from the administration. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Reinhardt. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Patty Sayes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Redden. One of the, I would love to take credit for having coming up with that program, but it is one of the most exciting programs since I've been here. The kids who graduate from there are more excited than any of our Greenwood kids or any of our Brazos-Port kids. It's life-changing for those kids, so I love that program. All right, next item that we have are our reports. Public comment will be allowed on each report. Our first report is the 22-23 budget assumptions and anticipated expenditures. Ms. Kelly?
Good It is my pleasure to provide a report on the 2023 preliminary budget assumptions. We have received preliminary values from the appraisal district. Preliminary values are up about $1 billion, which is about 5% of our total tax base. The appraisal district did indicate that they had a record number of appeals this year, coming in at over 41,000 appeals. So we won't receive the certified values until later in July. So I will highlight some of the preliminary changes to the market valuations. Single-family residences make up about 17% of our total appraised value. There were 153 new homes that brought in $45.7 million of new value. And to put that in perspective, last year there were 146 new homes. The residential market value is $4.48 billion, which is a $783 million increase from the prior year. And when you back out the new value from those 153 new homes, the increase to existing homes was about 19.9%. The number of homesteads did decrease by 25 and is currently at 13,027. Our preliminary values at this time do not include any of the changes to our industrial values, which make up the majority of our total tax base. I anticipate that those values will hold strong based on economic factors and come in between $16 and $18 billion. These values make up about 70% of our total tax base. Commercial values make up about 5% of our total tax base, and there were 11 new commercial accounts on the 22 rolls. $9.6 million of new value compared to $4.6 million of new value in 2021. The total commercial market value of $927 million is an increase of $149.2 million. Again, 9.6 of that was new, so an estimated 17.9% increase on the existing commercial property. And then the number of multifamily residences have increased by 3, with $29.1 million of new value. House Bill 3 from the 86th legislative session allowed districts to compress local tax rate, and Brazosport ISD has reduced the M&O tax rate by 7.66 cents over the last 3 years. I do anticipate some additional tax rate compression for the 22 tax year, which is what is used in our 2023 budget. We remain committed to delivering quality educational opportunities with highly competitive compensation for our teachers and our staff, while being fiscally responsible and good stewards of tax dollars. While the proposed tax rate cannot be officially calculated until July, after we receive those certified values, the revenue estimates used at this time include another reduction of 1.9 cents, which would mean in the past 4 years we will have compressed the tax rate by over 9.5 cents. Presented here are the updated 5-year revenue projections. Revised projections for the current budget year include the attendance hold harmless that was for the first 4 6-week reporting periods, and then actual ADA for reporting periods 5 and 6. Updated in the 620 column are the projections for the 2023 budget year. Previous 22-23 projections were based on 10,069 in average daily attendance, and based on our 5th 6-week reporting period, which was not under hold harmless, we came in at 10,209, so that is the number that I'm using at this time for the revenue projections for next year. Then based on current weighted funding FTEs for CTE and special education and some of those other groups, our state and local entitlement is projected to be at $95.7 million, which is up $1.8 million from the April projections of $93.9. And then we do have another $8 million from other various general fund revenues, from the federal SHARS reimbursement, some indirect cost reimbursement, the state's contribution into TRS, interest earnings, and athletic gate revenues. And so our total projected general fund revenue is approximately $103.7 million. Projected spending for 2023 based on preliminary budget assumptions to date is $127.1 million. So spending in excess of entitlement will be covered by the supplemental 313 revenues, budgeted at 12.6 million. I don't have current or updated estimates. That is the amount that we budgeted in the current year. And then we'll also use our fund balance to balance the budget. Projected spending out through 2026 includes a 3% increase. While the district remains in a strong financial position and can adopt a deficit budget for next year, we could potentially be faced with the need to make adjustments if enrollment and average daily attendance don't come back up. There is also a legislative session in 2023 that could and will impact funding for fiscal year '24 and beyond. And then 313 revenue is also a difficult number to project as the estimates, and it creates further uncertainty when projecting revenue. You have a detailed budget assumption document at your table, but in summary, the personnel and payroll assumptions are as follows. A 4% employee compensation increase package that totaled $4.3 million. Net staffing changes of just over $1.6 million, of which $1.1 million was related to special education teachers and support services that we needed to add. And then, in addition to that $1.1 million in special education, we're currently funding $675,000 of special education supports through our ESSER federal grant application. And so we'll need to review that and that funding cliff associated with those funds going away next year. And then staffing reviews with principals, we have an increase of $641,000 and central office reductions of just over $170,000. And then other non-personnel assumptions total $1.1 million. Campus allocations are based on the number of students and based on projected enrollment. We have a slight increase of $7,100. Last year, the campus allocations for loss of enrollment were decreased by $51,000. And then department budgets are also evaluated and prioritized. We have an increase of just over $40,000 for student services for costs associated with the JJAEP program, drug testing, and then reestablishing the Watchdog program. And then last legislative session, the state cut an instructional materials allotment, which was about $2 million each biennium to provide the support ISD, and therefore we do have to spend some general fund money to cover the renewal of the adopted instructional materials, so those total about $560,000. And then we have an increase of $48,700 to cover the increase in meals and associated travel for our athletic student groups. And then we have just over $1 million of increase to our maintenance and operation to cover property insurance, utilities, preventative maintenance agreements, and consumable supplies, all the things that we cannot fund from our bond program. And then the last increase is for transportation, for fuel, and inflationary increases for repair parts and supplies. So what that looks like when you put it all together is on the last page of your budget assumption document, and we will have an adopted deficit of $10.6 million with the $3.4 million in budgeted contingencies that if we don't use, we would actually have about a $7.8 million deficit. Current year projections to close out the current year are still holding at about a $10 million surplus, which is more than sufficient to cover the projected deficit for 2023, and we do have sufficient fund balance. And then new this year, you also have a campus budget summary that includes some FTE and total general fund spending, and you can take those with you tonight. We're not going to review them in detail, but if you recall, there's a recommendation number 7 from the curriculum audit that was to develop and implement a 3-year plan that fully aligns district resources to curricular goals and strategic priorities, and include the systemic cost-benefit analysis to ensure that the expenditures are producing the desired results and are directed to the area of greatest need. In response, we are creating these individual campus and programmatic department budget plans that include 5 years of projected enrollment, staffing FTEs, and total projected general fund spending. These sheets will create greater transparency for district spending across campuses and departments to ensure that as we evaluate spending levels and make the necessary reductions to balance the deficit budget for future years, that we are able to do so and remain in a strong financial position. At your table is the sheet for each campus, which includes the staffing FTEs for 21-22, and the total budgeted general fund expenditures by object class. And then the 22-23 FTE column on each sheet has been populated for the staffing changes projected for next year and as reflected on the budget assumption document. The 22-23 proposed budget amounts will be filled in and presented as part of the budget workshop in August. And then campus sheets do not currently include custodial staffing or supplies, utilities, or insurance. Those costs will eventually be added in. These new sheets will be included as part of the 23 budget book that gets reviewed at the budget workshop. We are finalizing a sheet for each department as well, and those will be ready before the July board meeting. And so our budget workshop will be held at the regular August meeting and a special meeting on August 29th to adopt the budget. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Kelly from the board? Not yet.
This is just payroll?
There's payroll, professional services, supplies, and other operating costs. So it's total campus spending. So payroll plus.
You're not allocating down like, insurance and...
No, insurance, custodial staffing,
Yeah.
custodial consumable supplies, and utilities are not included yet.
True campus...
Overhead costs are
Okay.
not included yet. We'll have to figure out a way to allocate that, maybe per square foot or per total
This is
appraised
just their
value.
accounts, direct accounts.
Right, yeah, payroll account, so they're FTE for all funding sources, and the funding sources in parentheses if it's non-general fund, and then their campus account, including their payroll. Payroll's about 86% of our budget, and when you see the 100-page budget book in August, payroll has historically been summarized on 3 pages. So this is an attempt to kind of break it out at the campus and department level to provide that transparency of spending at each campus and department level.
And all the ones with ESSER next to them, I assume, that's how they're funded.
Correct.
But that expense is included in the number?
No. So that's just the FTE. The only number included in payroll cost is the general fund cost.
Okay. So there'll be additional costs for
Correct.
anything down here, like I'm looking at Brad support, some Title I, some
Correct.
ESSERs, those are all funded through separate funds, so they would not be included in that.
Correct. And we can include a section for those funds. But the idea is to get all of those to tie into the budget that the board adopts. And so I can add some disclosures at the bottom with some of those other funding sources that are used to support those campuses.
Yeah. That'd be good just to see that total, you know, especially for the next couple of years.
It's actually on here, it's just cut off at the bottom, so.
Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then at the top, it actually takes the enrollment at snapshot, so that's the October snapshot date for fall teams reporting. And then for elementary, because we did the remote instruction via SFA, some of the elementary kids were included in SFA. So if you look at SFA, their enrollment for snapshot is higher. And so I included the February date, which is when those kids were back at their home campus. And then it includes the enrollment for the last day. And then the total spending per student, and then the payroll cost per student. And it's a pretty big variation across the campuses. So good information to have.
Any other comments from the board? From the audience?
I just have one.
Sure.
So when can the general public have those campus breakdowns? Is that's in July or August? I'm just trying to.
So we'll host a budget workshop at the regular August meeting, which I think is the 15th. And so they'll be public, and the whole budget book will be public at that time. And previous year's budget books are on our website, but these campus sheets are new.
Okay, but the public, will we be able to see that in August?
Yeah, on our website, the attachment will be there for all of us. You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item that we have under our reports, student literacy and math performance on the end-of-year screener assessments, kindergarten through second, Ms. Rita Cundiff.
All right, good evening.
In accordance with EH Local and BISD Goal 1, in which Brunswick IC will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience that every student will be future ready, it is my pleasure to present BISD's end-of-year student literacy and math performance data for our kinder through second grade students. Every year, our kinder through second graders are tested 3 times annually to review their progress on norm reference screeners. We recently conducted our end-of-year screeners, and we look at the student's growth percentiles, or SGP, from the beginning of school year to the end of the school year. This year, we moved away from iStation assessments and chose STAR Renaissance screeners, as they are correlated closer to the Texas STAR. In addition, STAR Renaissance allows us to assess students in math starting in first grade. To understand student growth percentiles, the following slide displays how students are assessed using STAR Renaissance screeners. Scores fall in a range of 1 to 99. If a student scores in the range of 0 to 34, shown here in red, the student will have low growth as compared to peers across the nation. If a student scores in the 35th to 65th percentile range, their growth will be considered typical. Students scoring above 65, shown here in green, will indicate high growth. A score of 50 is considered solid growth. Note that assessments get harder as the year progresses. Thus, the higher score a student earns, the higher their growth is. This report is solely based on student growth and not based on grade equivalency or on grade level percentages. The first graph shows our students' growth percentile and literacy across the district based on grade level since the beginning of the school year. As you can see in this illustration, the light blue indicates end-of-year growth, while the dark blue line shows where students tested at the beginning of the year. We have also included our economically disadvantaged population as seen with the 2 yellow lines. All 3 grade levels are showing positive literacy growth, with kindergarten and first grade growing 24% overall growth since the beginning of the year, with an end-of-year score of 61%. Second grade grew 12%, ending at 46% for the year. The economically disadvantaged population, again illustrated in yellow, is running from 4 to 6 percentage points below for each grade level. This table illustrates a closer look by campus. The dark blue line indicates the beginning of year scores, and the light blue line on the top shows the end of year scores. 3 of our campuses, Boydell, Roberts, and SFA, had math growth in the high range, followed closely behind by Brannon with 65% growth. The remaining campuses had typical growth. Keep in mind that a score at the 50th percentile is considered solid growth. While the other 3 campuses had less growth, but still in the typical range for standard growth percentiles. Overall, Brannon had the lowest growth of 13% from their score of 52 at the beginning of the year. Boydell had the highest growth with an increase of 42%, which is exceptional. This slide shows growth by campus for first grade. Brannon, Boydell, and Roberts had growth in the high range, which is a score above 65%, followed by Griffith, who had the highest growth increase, starting out the school year at only 18% and ending at 65%, an increase of 47%. SFA also had very good growth at 61%, with the remaining schools, Polk, Ogg, and FES, exhibiting solid growth with scores in the 50s. In second grade, Boydell, Brannon, and Polk showed solid growth with scores above 50, while our other remaining campuses showed growth since the beginning of the year, but struggled to reach the solid growth we were anticipating. A score of 35 through 65 falls in the typical range, and as the graph illustrates, SFA and Freeport Elementary are just above that range, while TW Ogg was just below that range. Based on these scores, second grade will become a focus for us in literacy for next school year. The next table shows our district's literacy performance for our bilingual Spanish students. A score in the 65th to 99 range demonstrates high growth, and all of our district campuses in kinder through second grade are testing at high levels of student achievement. Also included is the scores of our economically disadvantaged students, which is slightly lower in kinder by 1%. The scores are the same for first grade, and in second grade you can see the scores of all who tested in both populations dropped slightly from the beginning of the year. We realize second grade is an area we must continue to focus on. This next table moves us away from literacy scores and illustrates our student growth percentiles across the district for first and second grade math. Star Renaissance does not have a screener for kindergarten students. The dark blue line indicates the beginning of year scores, and the light blue line the end of year scores. First grade has shown a growth rate of 18% up from 55% to close at 73%, and second grade has grown 22% up from the 44% to 66% since the beginning of year assessment. The economically disadvantaged numbers, again illustrated in yellow, are slightly lower in first grade by 4% and actually 1% higher than second grade with 63%. First grade scores reflect high growth, being above a score of 65, while second grade is slightly below that score. The slide delineates the breakdown of our campuses for math performance in first grade. TW-Ogg had the smallest amount of growth, up 10% from 59 to 69. However, their score still falls in the high range. Stephen F. Austin had the highest amount of growth, up 32 percentage points from 44 to 76. All of our campuses are performing in the high range of growth on our end-of-year screeners for first grade math. The final graph explains our second grade student growth percentiles in math. 4 of our campuses are showing scores in the high growth range: Brannon, Roberts, Griffith, and Polk. TW-Ogg and Freeport Elementary had solid growth with scores of 61% and 59%, while Stephen F. Austin grew 22% with an end-of-year score of 48%, just slightly below a score of 50, which would be considered solid growth. Boyd is the anomaly here with a beginning-of-year score of 52%, regressing to 50% at the end of year. Our campus teachers and administrators are working hard to meet House Bill 3 goals in literacy and numeracy for third grade. The use of these screeners allows us to target instruction based on the TEKS and to monitor each campus's progress to improve our instructional strategies. We still have work to do, but we are proud of our campuses and the challenges they faced with the coronavirus. This presentation is report only and hopefully provided you with some insight into our progress with our youngest learners. I will now answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Schwartner?
This is a perfect set of graphs for COVID, right? Second grade, who went to school probably the least of any of those students, is the most behind. And
Yep. And that's our
kindergarten,
largest number of
first
summer
grade,
school students right now.
100%.
We have a big group of second graders, so we have them in there and we're working with them, and all of our feeder patterns, Lake Jackson and Freeport.
You know, whereas our first graders and kindergartners have seen good
They did.
growth and doing well there.
Is each campus having their own summer school this year?
Some campuses are having their own, but the district provided summer school for all of the elementaries.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. Good deal.
Any other questions from the board?
So, we should have we're close to having our, STAR test results, okay? Because, like Scott said, the second grade, that seems to be the work for next year.
Yep, definitely.
Especially going into
Our
third
incoming
grade.
third graders.
And it kind of coincides with the COVID stuff.
They were kindergartners learning to read when we
Yeah.
went into COVID.
So when we look at these, you know, the second graders, you know, for the last 2 years, I know we haven't seen the growth, obviously, but, do we look at that? Do we look at like what year to year, the cohorts? I mean, is that part of the, see, I know lots of times, you know, I hear it's not comparing apples to apples, but it really is, because you're moving.
Yeah,
you know.
with this new screener, teachers will be able to see those data, how they end of the year going into third grade. So they'll be able to see that data and utilize that data. As a matter of fact, all of our students in summer school, they had an end of year screener in May, and we're gonna have another screener at the end of summer school. So we'll screen those students during summer again, just to see if they made any progress. So we continue tracking them, and this new assessment allows us to continue to track their progress.
So what's our best guess percentage-wise of students hitting the summer school circuit?
Showing growth?
No, what's the participation percentage of say, second graders?
We have,
Do we have that?
I don't have those exact numbers, but we have about 300 to
250 to 300 students enrolled here at TW Alls. Second grade is one of our largest numbers, second and third, but I can get those numbers for you. And then we have a group of students at Freeport Elementary that are servicing Freeport Elementary and Stephen F. Austin.
So, did we anticipate all the summer school with participation in our budget?
We're using, ESSER dollars. We're spending about, budget estimates were about $1.2 million of summer school. Annually, we budget just under $600,000 for summer school. So it's about twice the normal of spending, but we are filling that with ESSER funds.
How long is summer school? Is it just a
A
couple
month.
hours each day?
It's a
Full
month,
day?
and they go Monday through Friday from 8 to 3.
Oh, Lord.
It's a full day, and we were able to purchase resources through ESSER funds for our teachers.
And increase the
And
hourly
increase
rate.
hourly rate and increase the number so we could have lower student to teacher ratio. We brought in, the hours, addressed the hours for House Bill 4545 as well through our summer program. So, students that need intervention, we're trying to capture all of that this summer so that they can start the year and, get additional help if needed.
We have pretty good attendance.
We've had pretty good attendance, yes, it's
Certain
been
days.
pretty good.
Friday
I
probably had a good day.
No, actually, they love Fridays. We partnered with Rotary and had Safety Town come in, so we were able to bus our kindergartners from Freeport over, and they did 2 weeks, so they would do half a day of Safety Town, which we know is also enrichment and learning there, and then they would have their literacy, summer camp we call it camp, literacy camp in the afternoon. So,
Sounds better than school.
yeah, no, definitely.
Child
And, so
nutrition's taking care of the Alexis.
they are. They have breakfast and lunch, and like I said, on Fridays, they have fun days. We have a puppet show coming in this Friday, and so fun
So-
activities for them.
So, our effort here is good, but we all know that ESSER fund moves away.
Yeah.
So, that's the scary part, so, okay.
We've been able to fund summer school the last several years, just
But
not
not to this
as
extent.
increased,
Right.
Numbers, right. We've been able to capture more kids that maybe were on, bubble, and needing help, and so we were able to include them this year.
They're all gonna be caught up.
We're gonna get them caught up.
That's the key. We were smart behind the remediation was,
Yeah.
it was critical.
Well, it's our third graders I'm worried about, because that's where it gets real. And so, if they're
Yeah.
just catching up, okay. All right.
Well, we did show growth in all grade levels, and like I said, the second graders that is our largest number in summer school will be our third graders next year, and our teachers can pick up with their data right at the beginning of the year and
So-
provide intervention.
Are most of these kids who are getting this extra, are they, do they go right in, when we go back to the school year, are they in the intervention classes, or are they being pulled for intervention? Because if they, clearly they need some stuff, they need some extra.
Typically, yes. Some of the students some of our third and fourth graders, didn't test well and, as a requirement of House Bill 4545, are required to have that intervention, and so they'll just pick up and improve right at the beginning. But yeah, we do have some students that will start intervention at the beginning of the year.
The first impression is it's a more frequent, evaluation with what we're doing, and I think that's critical. You can get those gaps, and you don't know if you're coming or going, but, this is a positive. I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and this is just two of the screeners. We do multiple other screeners
Oh, yeah.
too as well.
We do multiple screeners. They have TPRI, in our younger grades as well, and our teachers they are doing formative and summative checks, every day. Report card, testing, campus formative assessment, so, yeah. There's multiple measures. This is just one.
So we, for a percentage of the kids, we will have a second end of the year screener.
Next week will be the last week of summer school, so they'll do another screener at the end of summer school.
So it's gonna be hard to compare because.
They'll have
but-
only had 1 month.
Yeah, but I mean, with our graphs here that we've got some scores, but this is everybody, all the second graders.
least see, I assume we can segregate out those kids for
Yeah, we need to.
shifts, right, and see how summer school did or didn't do.
Yeah, they were set up, each teacher was set up as a class in the Star Renaissance program, so they have their rosters of students are in there. So when they test, we can run those.
So we'll know what happened.
Do we still do the stipend for the teachers that get kids out of the summer school? Did we do like a?
Not at,
Is
yeah.
it regional
Yeah,
school? That's high school.
High school,
That's high school.
high school.
I know
We
this
need something.
is a situation is kids' budget and
Close.
as well as budget and all that, and getting teachers, is that why we stopped the end of June? We don't do summer school in July. I know we never have, but.
No,
Is it
well,
just in the budget?
for bilingual ESL, we're required to have 120 hours,
Uh-huh.
and so we complete that, and we offer that to all of our pre-K and kindergarten bilingual students.
Right.
So we want to give them a summer also, our students a
Yeah,
summer,
that's
and it's a
good,
long
right.
day and a long month, so, we don't offer it in July.
Yeah.
We haven't discussed that as a possibility, but we could if it's something that we felt was a need as a district.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Break is good.
Budget, even a break. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, audience? Yes, ma'am.
Question. First, how is this testing communicated to parents? Because I have a kindergartner, and I've not heard anything. I'm very confident in her, but I've not heard anything about how her class or her school is doing, or even her scores. I mean, I've never heard her, so how would I know as a parent
Yep,
if I have a problem?
So
How's that
this is gonna be a little bit different report. Your students should have received a, student report that showed how they did on their end-of-year screener,
I
and
did
literacy
get one
and
at the end of the year,
Then-
but like,
yeah.
I didn't get one to know if there was a problem along the way.
Okay, well, it's a good thing. They would have met with you one-on-one.
Okay.
They would have met with you.
Now I understand.
Yeah, they would have met with you, and if they were gonna be in any type of tiered intervention, they would have brought you in and had a meeting with you. But if you receive the student learning report, it tells like what their grade equivalency, it gives them a ZPD, which gives them a range of, reading levels, so when they go to the library, they know like what range they can check out books. So if you receive that, then that's the report that you would have received.
I did get one at the end of the year,
Okay,
sorry, I was
yeah.
just like curious, I guess, but now I understand. We didn't have a problem. What about, like, is there, so, I mean, you've got these targeted groups, basically, you know, these second graders. What is done to encourage them to participate in, like, the online programs? Because I know some of the schools' like, Facebook pages have posted that they can, you know, log on to some of their different apps. So is anything done to encourage that or communicate that?
I know that students can access, ST Math, for example, is that one of the programs you're talking about?
I
that they
believe, and
can-
I believe there was a reading one as well.
Yeah, there's, several reading ones that they can access, and I know a lot of the teachers do it by class. They have little graphs in their classroom. Some of the, principals also have things, and different incentives. It just depends on
But for
the
these
campus.
summer school kids, or, you know, is anything communicated to them on how to participate
Our
during that month of
teachers and
July?
our summer school administrators have been communicating
Okay.
with the parents about things that they can do at home, continue reading. We've had our book bus go visit summer
we love that.
school. Yeah, we've had our book bus go visit our summer school campuses to keep our kids reading. So, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we're Jones Creek, so we really appreciate that book bus. I don't have to go anywhere.
Yes, wonderful.
So,
Trying to
thank
keep
you
our
very
kids
much.
reading all summer, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item under reports is our bond planning and construction update.
Oh, yeah.
That's my gal's birthday.
Alex Jordan.
My favorite person.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy CB Local, it is my pleasure to present the planning and construction update for the 2019 bond program. As of June 2022, total POs issued of $190 million, or 65.39% completed or in progress. This slide shows the current bond project timelines. This slide also shows the current bond projects under construction. And now we can start with the pretty pictures. I love showing these pictures. This is a current overhead view of the entire Brazos Wood campus. And this is the main entry. I wanted to show this one because it shows the temporary sidewalks that have been put in place, as well as the green fencing, which allows us, after school starts and during move-in time and all, but the main purpose of it is after school starts, it gives us egress for emergencies and fire drills and that sort of thing. This is another view of the three-story building that shows the fencing and the rather small sidewalk.
How much of the current B will still be remaining when school starts?
The hope is to have it all down on the ground, whether all of the debris is hauled off, that remains, because we run into a slight, I don't want to say the word delay, but we've run into a little bit of issues with additional asbestos that's been found on some of the fireproofing, on some of the beams that run through the length of the building. And so the asbestos abatement team is diligently working on that and bringing in additional staff to get that taken care of. And we're just contractors are demoing as we get certain areas cleared up. So I feel confident that we'll have it all on the ground.
That's good.
But, which is the big part of it.
Yeah, 100%.
And then just hauling off all the debris. They're also doing utility work and things out in front of the existing building that has to be done in preparation for all of the extensive amount of utilities that have to be put in for the new driveways and parking lots. And this is the student entry. It just shows some of the work that we're doing in the current student parking lot. And then this is a view from the roof, looking out over the parking lot where they're putting in different utilities, realigning the bus lane, and also new light poles. Not new light poles, well, it is new light poles. The current parking lot is not lit, so it will be after this.
Will it have capability for cameras and all that?
Yes, absolutely. It has, not only does it have capability, it will have cameras.
Good.
And this is where the E-wing used to be. It's already been cleared off, and they have since, the end of the building that you see right now is gone. You can actually see through the building now. So it should start going pretty fast now. And then this is the view.
Are the raccoons got out?
Sir?
Are the raccoons got out, or are we?
I think they're going in, they're joining their crews.
Maybe the guys are also raccoon specialists, or not?
And this is a view of the security vestibule. And this is the main reception area. And all of the boxes you see, that's not construction material, that's actually move-in material and furniture and things of that nature. This is the main staircase going up to the second floor. And this is the grab and go area next to the cafeteria. It's a combination of coffee and snacks and drinks and things of that nature. It's available for the students and the staff.
What did they call that when you were in school, Lisa?
A drink?
Your mom's house?
They call it bucket.
Right.
I'm really anxious to get see the graphics once they're installed. It's going to make a massive difference in what we see. For example, above this area, that whole white wall will be a large graphic up there, and then there'll also be graphics inside the grab and go area. This is the indoor dining area. I think the last month it was full of boxes and furniture assembly and all. That's all moved further down to make room for, I think we've got several truckloads of furniture coming in this week, including the cafeteria tables. And this is the serving line. And there will also be graphics in this area. And this is the entrance to aquatics. And all of the new aquariums have been received and should be there already sitting next to there, ready to be unpacked and assembled.
What do y'all do with all the old furniture, like from the cafeteria and the desks and everything?
all of the old furniture. I think what was salvageable was taken to storage and will go into the auction.
Yeah, maintenance and technology did a really great job clearing that building out. So, some of the old broken pieces did go down or are going down with construction, but what was still in good condition, maintenance was able to get out of there and repurpose, throughout the district. And then what, we don't have a need for, we will place in next summer's auction.
Okay.
That's the, obviously outside the auditorium, the lobby. And this is the, control booth. As you go into the auditorium, it just shows some of the equipment that's been installed.
Obviously, clocking there's a picture of 2 or 3 clocks.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's coming around, making his rounds.
Right. Obviously, this is from the stage, looking out to the auditorium.
Beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Is there some reason that you took all the gold seats out and didn't put it in?
You want one?
No.
They installed them in your garage.
Yeah.
I thought y'all picked up some of those.
I did. My wife made me throw them away.
Imagine that.
This is the, dressing room for the stage. And this is for dance. And this is, looking over, out towards the student entry and exit. And this is, we haven't seen these pictures before. This is the connecting hallways that, connect over to the 9th grade center.
Oh, wow, cool.
And then this is looking into one of the gyms. And this is on the 2nd floor. And this is one of the science labs, just displaying some of the furniture that's been installed. There's been a lot of furniture that's already been put together in this building. It mostly started out with student desks.
How many gyms do we have now?
Same number.
Huh?
Same number.
Same number?
Yeah, no gyms.
Yeah, we didn't add any new gyms on this
Okay, I was
project.
just curious.
And we didn't take any away.
Okay.
And this is a typical classroom. And the learning stair. This is the library. We're still waiting on the bookcases. I'm not sure exactly when the bookcases will arrive. And this is one of the several conference rooms. There's clocks everywhere. I never noticed that. I never noticed that.
I'm sorry. It's just me. I don't know, I can't tell you why.
I'd love a big clock right there, but.
Right. Okay, over at Brazosport High School, the athletic improvements. This is a aerial view that was taken last week. You can
Best
see.
thing ever right here.
Yes, you can see the baseball field, softball field, the parking lots that are demoed and under construction, and then just north of the baseball field, you can see the new detention pond, and then over to the left is the new field house. The field house pad is complete, and we're ready to start the utilities and get ready to lay the slab. It's a close-up view of the baseball parking lot. This is the detention pond. Would make a great big swimming pool. And this is the softball, this is the parking lot, and then where the press box and the restrooms and concession stand will be is that little square. And then that's a close-up view of where the press box will be. And then the 2 dugouts, you can see the new roof structures that are going on, and they'll be matching roof lines. They weren't before.
Are we fencing the softball field?
Yes, absolutely. All the outfield fencing, it'll be similar to what Beewood has.
Well, you say absolutely, but it's been there a long time without a fence system.
There's not an outfield fence if they go softball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's fair.
Yeah.
Chain link.
Oh, okay.
How about?
They'll have one next season.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's your new field very well. We didn't have a single rain interruption.
Looks like we're gonna have one.
We actually did have a rain interruption from the dirt pit, which happens to be over in, between 2004 and 36, just outside of Jones Creek. They had one of those freak rainstorms that came and shut down the dirt pit, so it became too wet. And Vestibule CTE is still in design, and it's moving along well. These are some renderings that could possibly change a little bit, but this is at the front of the existing CTE building where the new addition will go. And this is a rendering of the inside common area. And this is an overhead view looking from 2nd Street to the north. And you can see the 4 new shop buildings that are in the back, and then the new field house, which is just north of that. And there's the side view. This road that goes around, that's actually a fire lane and a service drive and delivery drive that will actually go all the way around and then go in between the new shops and the field house. So it'll circle back around, you can go all the way through the parking lot to exit. It will be gated, so it won't be a, it won't be a 3-street.
racetrack.
Yeah, it will not be a 3-street at all. And this is a view of the new 4 shops, or the 4 new shops, and then it's got a large area that will be fenced for their outdoor construction activities. And there's another view of the shop with the existing building over to the right. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, who's doing the construction at Vestibule? Remind me again?
The Brassport Drumala Construction.
Okay, that's good.
Drumala built in our 2002 bond program. They built all the Lake Jackson Intermediate, Brassport High School, and several additions and renovations. Oh, Velasco and then Lanier.
Oh, yeah, that'd be.
Other comments from the board? Audience? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Last item under reports are our board committee reports. Anybody like to participate? Anyone?
Oh, I will say that the Gulf Coast School Board meeting will be September 7th. It's going to be on security. And I think Mr. Morrow and Chief Nichols will be part of that, so we're working on that. So I think it's pretty good timing. Probably be a panel discussion for security and police people. So I think it should be good timing.
All right. Any other comments?
Good convention.
Good convention?
I was jealous. I can see y'all, I can hear, when you were saying, meet me here and do all that, and I was just like, all weekend long. Joe didn't think, Joe was like, have fun, have a good time.
I didn't mean it.
You didn't mean it?
I knew it's about 105 degrees there, so.
It's just cold in the room.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not like here.
Yeah, like here, yeah.
I'm glad y'all had fun.
Our next work session discussion, our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be July 18th, here at 6 p.m. We do not have executive session, but we will move to D7 for team of 8 training. So,
We close meeting, we
do we have to keep it open until we come back? It'll be, we'll come back this way. We'll come back to close session. All right, we'll be back, but it'll be a while. It's 9:30, and unless there are any objections, we're adjourned.
9:30.
I did have one